All right, we're back.
Oh my God, we're back again.
We are tier ranking all of the General Feats in the 2024 Player's Handbook. This is part 3.
Make sure to check out part 1 and part 2 first.
Because we've covered everything up to Ritual Caster so far. We're starting with Sentinel. We're going in alphabetical order. The first episode in the series covers our exact metrics for and criteria that we've used for ranking this. But the basic question is, if your character would take this feat, you make the prerequisites, it's appropriate for what you would want to do with the character. Would you take this feat right away at level 4? Or is it a feat that you would probably wait later and take other things first? And so that's the kind of the criteria that we use.
So we are going to take a look at the remaining General Feats, and we're gonna see how they rank up compared to all the rest. Hopefully they fare better than episode 2 did. There's a lot to discuss today, so let's get rolling.
Alrighty, so let's kick this off. Sentinel. I love this feat. I've always loved this feat. I love when people take it. It's a good one.
I have seen Sentinel single-handedly destroy a dragon combat encounter.
Yep.
And that's my statement for why Sentinel rocks as the tank, the shield, the character who wants to stop the enemies getting through. Sentinel.
You get to boost strength or dexterity by 1. And immediately after, a creature within 5 feet of you takes the disengage action or hits a target other than you with an attack. You get to make an opportunity attack against them. And then also, when you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, any of your opportunity attacks, creature's speed becomes 0. So the mechanical implication of this is that if someone tries to walk away from you, you get to smack them, and they stop, and they stay there. For a melee tank character, this is a phenomenal battlefield control effect.
I want to bring back the build that I love here with Shieldmaster, Crusher, Sentinel.
Yeah.
It's great. But also, does Polearm Master and Sentinel still? No, because it's not an opportunity
No, it
attack
doesn't,
anymore.
Unfortunately. But
if you are wielding a polearm,
it does give you more reach
with your opportunity attacks. So there is still a benefit. The synergy isn't quite as overlapped as it used to be, but there is still a build that involves using Polearm Master and Sentinel.
Here's what it boils down to. Sentinel and Shieldmaster and Polearm Master and Crusher all exist together in an ecosystem. And I find it very difficult to definitively say which of these feats you should always take first if you're going for that frontline defender guardian style tank build. I think it comes down to personal preference, what you feel is most important given your party, given your DM style. Are you going to eventually want all of those feats? Probably. Admittedly, you're probably either doing like the
Crusher and Shield Master or the Great Weapon Master, Polearm Masters.
Yeah,
ending with Sentinel on either of those.
It's all kind of how you're going to stack your hamburger, and it's a tough call here because there's a lot of pieces to it to bring it all together. But when you bring that all together, have you ever had a burrito?
Oh, we're going burritos now.
Well, it could be a burger or a burrito or a taco. Have you ever had a taco that you're like, I didn't expect all of these ingredients to do this flavor combination, but you bit into it and were just like, I have seen the face of God.
And it is a taco.
Yeah. Right?
I have been there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's like to play a character that has Sentinel, Shieldmaster, Crusher.
Yeah. So this is an A tier feat.
Yeah.
For the builds that want it, for the builds that are playing the frontliners, you want your face of God taco. You're taking these feats, including Sentinel. Sentinel is a great final ingredient to witness the face of God. This analogy has gone excellently through all 3 episodes. In order to get this joke, you need to watch all 3 parts of this
Yeah.
series. We're having a good time. We hope you are too.
Yeah.
A tier,
Yeah.
Sentinel. Shadow Touched. I guess we can move on. Coming to Shadow Touched, this one you get to increase your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. You get a level 1 spell from either illusion or necromancy, and you always have it prepared, and you can cast it without a spell slot.
You also get invisibility.
You also get invisibility. This is very similar to Fey Touched.
Yep.
But it's it's the evil twin.
It's Fey Touched's emo sister.
Me, what? I love it. Like I don't have a favorite child, but I think Fey Touched might be like a hair above this one.
I feel like divination and enchantment plus Misty Step is a little bit more juicy than invisibility plus necromancy and illusion. There's a lot of, just at first level, it feels like there's a lot of really good divination and enchantment picks, namely Hex and Hunter's Mark. Illusion at first level hasn't quite come online yet. This is a respectable way to get Disguise Self. Necromancy, it's like, are you going to take Inflict Wounds or...
The choices are a little less. Invisibility is, I would say, on par with Misty Step, depending on your play style.
It is that classic question of like, would you rather have the ability to turn invisible or teleport? Right? And that's
actually a tough question.
That
like,
actually
if you had a superpower and you could choose between invisibility or teleportation, what do you pick? Well, that depends how far I can teleport. Anyway, we're getting into some...
Yeah, in this case, it's 30 feet.
Yeah.
In this case, you can be invisible for like an hour.
Which saves me having to walk around my house.
Yeah.
I can easily go from... Yeah. Anyway.
So in any case, I think it's a perfectly respectable B tier feat.
Yeah, I put it the same as Fey Touched. Both are respectable choices at some point, probably in the middle of your career.
Sharpshooter. All right. Again, this one was probably the poster child for one of the most broken and overpowered feats in the 2014 rules. In 2024, it boosts your dexterity by 1. It lets you bypass cover, both half quarter and 3 covers cover with your ranged attacks. It lets you ignore the firing and melee penalty. And it also lets you ignore the disadvantage from firing at long range for your weapon. All of these are really, really good. This feat is particularly good if you have one of those stickler dungeon masters that says that your allies and enemies impose cover over each other. So like if your fighter is standing in front of the goblin, I have known there to be certain, or like if there's a goblin in front of a goblin and you want to shoot the goblin shaman that's behind them, some DMs will actually say that there's cover there.
Yeah.
Or if there's other DMs that just like having environmental features like chest high walls, ignoring the cover is actually a significant accuracy boost for a ranged character.
It can go a long way. And like, there have been times where even in our campaign, like shooting an enemy through a window.
Yeah.
Or like you're outside, they're in a building and you're trying to shoot. Like, or there's so many cases where cover can actually come up.
Yeah.
Now, some DMs forget to use cover, in which case this isn't as useful. But I still think, let's be honest, a lot of people were angry that the bonus damage disappeared from this feat in the conversion from 2014 to 2024. Once the anger washes away, you realize that this is still an excellent feat for ranged characters.
Incidentally, we didn't mention this in Great Weapon Master, but Great Weapon Master does work on longbows and heavy crossbows because they have the heavy weapon property. So in terms of a damage boost for ranged characters, there's an argument for taking Great Weapon Master. It's just that those characters have to invest 13 in strength to take the feat and then have to eat the fact that that feat is giving them +1 strength. But it is a meaningful damage boost for longbow and heavy crossbow users. So that's the side conversation that is a footnote to Great Weapon Master for ranged characters.
But for Sharpshooter, I think that for most archers, it's still a very viable choice.
I do too.
And I
Absolutely.
think that it's an A tier feat.
Yes, I do. Am I sad that it doesn't have a damage boost?
Yeah,
Yes. But I
but
think
I'll still take
yeah.
it.
Shield Master. Oh, we are cooking this time around.
Yeah, this is way better than episode 2.
This is way better than
Don't you can skip episode 2 and just assume not to take any of those. All
You know
those
how usually the trilogy, like the second one is like the strong one? This is not the case here. This is like the strong finish. Shield Master increases your strength by 1 to a maximum of 20. Gives you a shield bash that as part of your attack action, when you hit with a melee attack, a creature within 5 feet of you, you can bash them with your shield. They have to make a strength saving throw, but on a failed save, you can push them 5 feet or you can knock them prone. You can also interpose your shield when you make a dex save for only half damage. You can take a reaction to turn the half damage into no damage, but you still have to succeed the save. So it's kind of like you get sometimes evasion.
You get sometimes evasion, and you can bash people around with your shield. That's great.
It is.
So again, we come back to the build, but I don't just think the build, like you don't have to be the Crusher Shield Master. Even a sword and board, the classic like paladin with their sword and shield, being able to bash people around is so beneficial.
It really is, and it really works. It just sings like when you have a weapon with the push mastery or potentially the topple mastery. So we're talking hammers and axes here. You now have so many ways to knock targets prone, so many ways to keep them in front of you, so many ways to move them around and reposition them. And that makes you feel like a 4th edition fighter, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And so between all of those things stacked together, and then you add Battlemaster maneuvers on top of it, like this is one of those cases where you're like, Monty, Kelly, are you guys taking too many things that do the same thing? And surprisingly, the answer is no. You get this scenario where now what you're doing is you have so many sources of this push a target, knock them prone thing that you can stack them on the same attack. And now you're at the point where you're knocking a target prone, pushing them back 10 feet, pushing them out of the way, pushing them off cliffs,
pushing them through the spell that's in front of you.
Right. And you're, because they're prone, you've got Sentinel, you're making their speed 0. All of these things are happening and it's all really good and it all synergizes really, really nicely.
What ends up happening is you become a vortex on the battlefield that like sucks enemies in towards you and then they can't get away from you.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool to see in play. Because it just, yeah, if you want to play the tank, the character that like is a wall for the rest of your party, there is very viable ways to do it with the right feat choices here, and I think that that's a beautiful thing.
Could I offer a build order for this? And I'm just proposing this as what I might do as my personal baseline. I think I would start with Shield Master. I think that starting with Shield Master makes you feel like you've got the starting point of the whole thing. And I would go with a Warhammer as the weapon for push.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a nice starting combination. And if I was playing the fighter at level 6, I would probably grab Sentinel as the second feat. And then at level 8, I would take Crusher. And that would be the combo.
And then your next one you take...
At that point, I think I would actually start looking at the con boosting stuff, and because that would max my strength, right?
Either way, and that's not the only build. I know that we're going on about this build, but again, there's like the Great Weapon Master, Polearm Master build. There's a lot of, and like we're focusing a lot on martial characters, and I want to kind of crack this open just for a second. Give me one moment. Martials benefit a lot from feats. Spellcasters benefit a lot from their spell list, and their feats are usually more individual. Most spellcasters, there's 1 or 2 feats that you're like, oh, those help boost me a little bit, and they give a bonus to my primary spellcasting stat. But we see less chains of like build orders, because I think that where martials really come online is through your customization of feats. That's almost like your spells in a way. So I do think that that's important to point out, that it's not like we're like, oh man, the marshals and this one build. It's just that like this build is available. There's also great archery through lines that we see here with certain build orders there. So I do think that's really cool. What's really cool is if you are watching these 3 videos, there are multiple chains
Yeah.
of feats that you can actually build on.
Yeah. It's kind of like you've got your archer package with, are you doing crossbow or bow? You've got your guardian package with its variants. You've got your polearm package. You've got your great sword or just great weapon package.
You even have your dual wielder package.
Yep.
You've got your, and I also think there's very specifically a charisma-based spellcaster package.
It's nice to see. One disappointment, Shieldmaster doesn't let you boost dex. It would be really cool to be able to do Shieldmaster plus defensive duelist.
Yeah,
That's one where
because you can have the buckler and the
Yeah.
rapier and
Yeah. Yep.
why not?
Yep. Skill expert. So you get to increase any ability score you want with this one.
Yeah.
You get proficiency in a skill, and you get to choose expertise in any one skill. And you can choose 2 different things here.
Yeah.
Right? So you can gain one new skill and gain expertise in another. This is the easiest way for a non-rogue or bard or ranger to get expertise in anything they want.
And I'm also going to throw it out there. I actually think that this is a great choice for a rogue. Monty and I did have a brief discussion about this where Monty's like, you already have all the expertise you need. And what I want to say is that having played a rogue now from like 3rd to 20th level, I think the rogue's shtick in the game is less about what it does in combat and more about what it does with its skills. That's my takeaway from playing a rogue a very long time, and I actually think that reliable talent is the single best ability that a rogue gets,
it
other than
is.
sneak attack.
Yeah.
Sneak attack is its combat ability. Reliable talent is its out of combat ability, and it makes rogues the best. Monty, even you did agree with this when we were talking, that like it is almost pointless to ask me for a persuasion roll.
Yeah, because it's always going to be in the 30s.
Yeah. And so by choosing this feat on a rogue in the late game, not probably your first choice, but if you're like, okay, you know what? One more expertise, one more skill, those are 2 more things that I can't roll lower than a 10 on. And you get to choose the 2 things that have come up in your campaign that
And
now you get to.
proficiency plus mod means you've got like a plus 17.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can't roll under like 27. Yeah.
So at that point, you're basically choosing 2 skills that you can't fail.
But that is for a high level rogue.
Yep.
And I would say that a lot of characters are not going to care.
You're right. I just wanted to make that case, but I know where you're going, and yeah, I agree.
And I think that for a lot of people, this isn't even a 3rd choice; it's a 4th choice if you make that choice at all.
So it might be C.
I think it is.
It is.
It has a place.
It does.
I would I don't know what you're doing if you're making this one of your first picks. Like if you're making this one of your first picks, you're probably trying to do kind of the meme, I got proficiency in everything and got expertise in everything sort of builds.
Yeah, and I guess I wanted to start with the one time that I found this to be a really great feat, but it was a very specific moment in time, and it took a very specific type of character, which is a rogue who was kicking butt
and
at
again,
skills.
we like to talk about how examples can show the case, but like an example is not enough. Like an anecdote isn't necessarily, because we can tell the story about. Look at the Dungeon Delver feat, which doesn't exist anymore. I have a story about the one time that feat was amazing.
Yeah,
there is always a story of the one time that weird ability that the dungeon dudes said was bad was amazing. Just with D&D, that's the amazing thing about this game. For us, in our analysis, we're trying to say, like, is it going to be routinely amazing? Are you going to feel the benefits of this every time you sit down to play? And that for us is a really important thing. It is
And when it comes to skills, I think that it's important to say, like, do you have important skills? Because, like, I know certain skills, I never need proficiency in them because Monty's going to ask for, like, a survival check 3 times in a campaign.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I asked for
Or
a
like,
survival check.
I don't know, the last time you asked
Actually,
me
I
for a
can now.
history check or a medicine check, they happen. I'm not saying they
Yes.
don't, but they don't happen enough for me to take a feat to get expertise in them.
Yeah.
But if I'm missing investigation or perception or acrobatics or stealth,
Yeah.
then I might take this to be like, man, I could really use that.
Okay, so arguably, this feat is conditionally worse than keen mind and observant if you're choosing to get expertise. Well, I guess not, because the thing with those feats, so keen mind and observant, you only get expertise if you are already proficient in the skill. You're not getting a skill proficiency and expertise in another skill.
Yeah, this you're
And
getting two.
this you're getting 2 skills are getting boosted up here, whereas those other feats are only boosting up 1 skill and then giving you this, like, other
And the
bonus
skill
action thing.
choices are like, eh.
There is, again, there's the meme skill master that
Yeah.
actually does take all of these and gets expertise and, like,
I think this is a C.
yeah.
With the caveat that, like, yeah, there's definitely builds out there that this is higher than a C.
Yeah. Skulker. This is the stealth archer feat, I think, because it's boosting your dex. It gives you 10-foot blind sight, which is actually kind of clutch, I
Yeah.
think. Gives you advantage on any dexterity stealth check you make to hide as part of the hide action in combat. That is crazy good. And if you make an attack roll while you're hidden and you miss, your location isn't revealed.
So this turns you into the Skyrim
Stealth
stealth
archer
archer.
must have been the
It
win.
must have been the wind as an arrow's like, I guess
Yeah,
if you miss. So if you shoot past their head and they're like, oh, it must have been my imagination.
yeah.
Great. I actually do think that this is the first choice for stealth archers.
I do too. Okay, so first of all, so we talked about how when we were talking about the actor feat, I talked about how advantage was an easy thing to get,
Mhm.
right? But there's exceptions to that, and there's nuance there. I find that in a social skill challenge, sometimes you can go into it properly, but conditions in combat can change rapidly, and you can end up in a not so great conditions to hide in. Hiding in combat is hard, but for a character that can hide in combat as a bonus action, aka a rogue, um, getting advantage on that check is really good.
Mhm.
Even if, but I guess again we can go back to the rogue being like, oh, but your stealth check is plus 17 and you can't roll lower than a 10. So what is advantage really doing for you? I guess maybe my own argument can come back in my face here.
Reliable talent is late game, though.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a really good early game boost, and the blind sight is sweet too.
Also, the fact that what this implies to me is that when I shoot at a target and I'm hidden as a rogue and I don't have this feat, it gives away my
It
position,
does. It does. Yeah.
which means it's actually hard as a rogue to be the sniper because you shoot, you miss, and then you have to like drastically change locations,
Yeah.
get out of line of sight, and hide again.
Yeah.
And then, but this time you can pop out, fire, pop back down to your hiding spot. And if you missed, you're still fine. You're still in your little sniper hole.
Yeah.
So I actually do think that Skulker is a great choice for stealth archers, and I think it's an A.
Yeah. Slasher, the final of the trilogy, the Slasher trilogy.
I just watched Scream 3 last night.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I too am
Yeah.
finishing my slasher trilogy.
Strength or dex +1. Hamstring, once per turn when you hit a creature with an attack that deals slashing damage, you can reduce the speed of that creature by 10 feet till the start of your next turn. When you crit a creature with slashing damage, it has disadvantage on attack rolls till the start of your next turn. So the interesting thing about this feat is that it also, it's kind of like a weird combination of like some of the effects of SAP, the SAP weapon mastery, and some of the effects of the slow weapon mastery.
Right.
So you could end up with this interesting dichotomy here where I think that actually you could combine this with our aforementioned Sentinel Shield Master combo here with a fighter that is doing some interesting stuff, like has the slow attack, has the Sentinel maneuver, and is actually able to, like, keep a lot of enemies really close to them and also dole out disadvantage on their attack rolls.
Right.
I just don't think I think this is my least favorite of the three.
I do think that given the choice of Crusher, Piercer, Slasher, uh, this one is the least cool, which is actually interesting because when I think of the weapons they're associated with, swords are the coolest.
Yeah.
Bows are the second coolest. Hammers never really spoke to me, hammers and mauls, but because of the Crusher feat, I'm now getting into the vibe of like, maybe I could get behind the fantasy of like the hammer dwarf. That being said, I mean, it's not bad, but it is the worst of the three.
Yeah. I give it a C. I think that if I'm going for a greatsword or a glaive, and I wanted Polearm Master and Great Weapon Master, my strength is 19. Is this my third feat to get my strength to 20?
I think this is the thing. With Crusher, you have something that defines the hammer build.
Yeah.
With Piercer, you have something that complements the Archer build.
Yeah.
With Slasher, you have something that kind of maybe is your last pick, but there's other options that are also in play.
Because, like, that character could just as easily grab, like, Heavy Armor Master.
They could also be the person who's taking Defensive Duelist.
Yeah, but if you're looking for the thing that's going to give you +1 strength,
Right.
your strength to 20, right? Yeah, maybe, but I think that there's other things that you might choose.
But that's why it's C. C is like there's options,
Yeah,
but it's not my first pick. It's probably not my second pick. It might be my third pick, but even then, it's like juggling a few options.
yeah.
Speeding right along.
Too Speedy. Boost your Dex or Con by 1. Increase your speed by 10. When you dash, difficult terrain doesn't cost you extra movement. And opportunity attacks have disadvantage against you. I'll take it.
Yeah. I take this on my monks.
So this replaced mobile.
Yeah, and actually mobile was a little better because it just nobody could make if you made an attack action against an opponent, they couldn't attack you. So it was great for skirmishers.
Yeah, because you actually just shut off the opportunity attack entirely instead of.
But I will still take disadvantage because I can't always rely on being able to use my bonus action. If I'm playing a monk, I would much rather use that bonus action for other things than the disengage action.
Is this the first feat that you would take with any character, even a speedster character?
Maybe not. I mean, even on the monk, it's like third, fourth.
I could see this being a second pick. I mean, speed can be really impactful at lower levels.
Archers might like this as well because it does
Yeah.
allow you to get out of bad situations a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Especially like I'm thinking a ranger. A ranger doesn't necessarily have the disengage option that like a rogue or a monk does, but they still would get everybody would have
I
disadvantage.
just want to point out that you can boost your con with this one, which opens it up for a lot of characters at higher levels.
Barbarians might
that
like this.
Actually, yeah.
To close the distance.
Yeah, and like, okay, let's go back to that example where we're talking about durable.
Mhm.
Okay. Durable, if you're looking for a feat to boost your con by +1, you've already got Constitution saving throw proficiency. I feel like it's kind of hard to beat 10 feet of speed.
I think this is a B. I don't think it's my first choice.
No, but it is a stellar second or third choice, and I think as well it's an amazing choice at level like 12 or 16.
Yeah.
When you're trying to round up your Constitution.
And there are some characters in some builds where it lands safely in that second choice category.
Yeah.
But usually there's a feat that I would take before it.
Yeah. Spell Sniper. You got to be a spellcaster to take this. You get any mental stat you can boost by 1. And this is Sharpshooter for spellcasters. So you get to bypass cover, you get to cast in melee, and your spells that have a range of at least 10 feet get increased by 60 feet.
I think this is an underappreciated spell. it should be appreciated in my world the same way that we appreciate Sharpshooter.
I think warlocks love this feat for Eldritch
I think
Blast.
warlocks, I even think like artillerists,
Yeah.
artificers probably love this option. Um, Anybody that's relying on blaster cantrips,
Mm. Can I also say that there's a bunch of weird cantrips that have a really short range by default that this spell then suddenly
like there are
jumps them up?
cantrips that are like 30-foot
There
range.
are there are spells that are like I'm thinking like stuff like Thorn Whip, Poison Spray, or what have you, where their range is like weirdly short.
Yeah, but
And then
now
this
it's over, it's
yeah.
60 feet more.
So I actually think this is like a very easy feat to underrate. There are a bunch of spells that hit that like 30-foot range that you're like, oh man, just increasing them to the 90-foot range. That's now the point where they can hit anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it basically takes all of your shorter range spells and puts them online the same way that your higher range spells
Yeah.
are. And the ability to bypass any cover with a blaster. It's great for a blaster. Are you playing a blaster? You should probably consider this feat.
Yeah. I think a blaster does pretty okay with this. Like, there is the blaster build that takes this elemental adept and
Fey touched, shadow touched,
yeah, or one of the other ones we're going to talk about later. And,
and
just
you're
has a
good.
good time. I think it's a solid B.
I'm willing to give it B. I think it's pushing A though. Like it's
I definitely agree with you that it's a surprisingly underrated feat.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Telekinetic. I love this on my battlefield controller mages. This feat boosts any mental stat by 1. It gives you mage hand and lets you cast mage hand without verbal or somatic components and lets you make the hand invisible and increases its range. But it also lets you use a bonus action to telekinetically thrust people, which forces them to make a strength save or be pushed 5 feet towards or away from you. And I love this because like this is one of those like cool ways that a battlefield control spellcaster can just start nudging everything every turn. And I have like used this in so many strategic ways as a battlefield control mage that like I've done that thing where it's like, oh, turns out my ally is gonna get fireballed. Not if I just zoop them back a little bit. Because you can move your allies with this too, and they can just voluntarily fail to save. So you can kind of scoot someone back, push an enemy, like make sure that that one enemy that's just out of range to get caught in your wall of force, you scoot them back in. Like it's just such a Swiss Army knife ability.
I think that one thing that might be apparent is Monty and I love moving people on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Controlling where they end up can be, even in a small way. 5 foot is like one square on your grid maps. But one square can make all the difference between your fireball hitting 4 enemies or 5 enemies.
Yeah.
It can make the difference between whether your enemy is standing on the ground or not on the ground.
Or whether they're alive or falling to their death.
Or whether they are out of your spell or in your spell.
Yeah.
So there are so many cases where just nudging a character 5 feet changes the battlefield in a big way.
Yep.
And even like if you're playing a warlock that has the ability to push or pull with your Eldritch Blast, and then you can like blast like 3 or 4 enemies and then also nudge. It's like you drop Hunger of Hadar,
Mm-hmm.
blast a bunch of enemies into it, and then the one guy who's standing right at the edge, you're like, and you too, and nudge him back in.
I know, and nudging people into a damaging area is a really great thing to do with this, because like you can get damage out of it, and the key thing about it is that it gets around the only one spell with the spell slots per turn, because this is not a spell, right? This is just a bonus action ability that you have. It's only a range of 30 feet, and you can't like boost that with Spell Sniper because it's not a spell. It's just so useful.
You know how annoying you can be if, like, let's say the ranger drops like spike growth, and the enemy keeps coming through, and then you're the warlock who blasts them back, and then at the end you're just like, and an extra 5 feet,
Yeah,
and then they have to go through again, and you just keep doing that.
It's great. It's
Great.
great. Yep,
A tier.
I completely agreed. Telepathic. So this also boosts your mental scores, and you can speak telepathically to creatures you can see within 60 feet of yourself. it's in a language that you know, so it doesn't bypass like the language. Like normally telepathy, like everyone just understands each other regardless of language. Um, and it doesn't give the ability for the creature to respond. You're just sending messages. And you can also cast Detect Thoughts without a spell slot once. Interestingly, you get to cast it without components either, so no one knows that you're casting Detect Thoughts, which is a key thing here. I'll just say with this feat, I feel like the characters that really want an ability like this, like Aberrant Minds and Great Old One Warlocks, and like this is like a bard feat because like bards don't have the telepathic communication subclass for themselves yet.
Yeah.
So I like it.
It's not as good as like its cousin feat, telekinesis. I always kind of pair
Yeah.
them together as like they're not the same, but they feel like two sides of a similar coin.
Yeah.
And I think that telekinesis is just the stronger of the two, and telepathy is cool. There's nothing bad here. But a lot of the classes that feel at home with telepathy already have their telepathy subclass features.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, a feat is less expensive than your subclass.
But if you're building a character that you're like, I want to be the telepathic nightmare, and you're like, well, then you're going to play the Great Old One Warlock.
Yeah.
And then you might not need telepathy as a
Yeah.
feat.
I
But
might.
the bard might want it.
Yeah. I think that this is a good choice to round out your abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Warcaster. You know it. You love it. You got to be a spellcaster to take it. You get to boost any of your mental stats, so Int, Wiz, or Cha. You get advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration on your spell. And when someone provokes an opportunity attack from you by leaving your reach, you can use your reaction to cast a spell at the target rather than making an opportunity attack. Spell has to have a casting time of 1 action and must target only that creature. Finally, you can perform the somatic components of your spells while you're holding weapons, or a shield in one or both of your hands.
Now, okay, we're going to go into a bit of a discussion right now, just fair warning. The value of this feat is always high.
Yeah.
It's always a very valuable feat, and you should always consider it. But how much of a rule stickler your DM is might determine whether this is a mandatory feat or an excellent choice for a feat. And that comes down to the reading of how using your spellcasting focus, somatic and material components, and all of that sort of play together.
Yeah, so here's the weird technicality, and this is where we get into the real rule stuff here. This last clause in this feat is what if a character is casting a spell that has verbal, somatic, and material components. You can have your spellcasting foci in one hand, and you could have another item in your other hand, and you can cast that spell just fine because you're allowed to hold your spellcasting foci, whether that's a staff, a wand, an orb, or even a shield that has your holy symbol on it. You can do the somatic stuff and do that just fine. If a spell doesn't have somatic components, you don't care. There's a lot of spells, especially for clerics and paladins, that are verbal only. But there's this weird class of spells that have somatic components, but do not have material components. This actually includes spells like Guiding Bolt,
Guidance?
Guidance, and a bunch of other like weird options here. And for characters that are in that situation, if you're holding a weapon and a shield and you want to cast a spell that has somatic components, but not material components, even though your shield has your holy symbol painted on it, you now have to stow your shield or sheath your weapon before you can cast your spell because you need a hand free to perform the somatic components. Warcaster gets around that. If you have a dungeon master that is a stickler for these kind of things, and you're playing a cleric or a paladin, you really need to pay attention to your VSM components on your spells, because there might be situations where you can't have both your hands full, in which case Warcaster solves your problem. The thing is that it's all kind of moot, because as far as I'm concerned, if you are a spellcaster, this is probably a must-take feat. It boosts your primary ability score regardless of what it is, so it's Int, Wiz, or Charisma. and it gives you advantage on your Constitution saving throws to maintain spells on your concentration, which is one of your most valuable things. So I think that basically every spellcaster, this is the first feat that you take at level 4.
I do think that, and I will say at my table and at Monty's table, we aren't that, like, I understand that that's part of what this feat gives you, but for me, it would be more like if a wizard wanted to wield a shield and a sword for some reason, then I'd be like, you probably need spell. But like, I'm not going to stop my paladin from casting guiding bolt.
Here's
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I
cleric, my cleric from casting guiding bolt because
here's
they
the
have
thing.
a mace.
I think the only character class that is maybe affected by this are paladins and maybe rangers, because the thing is that I think that most clerics, wizards, warlocks. Okay, so sorcerers and warlocks might not take this right away at level 4 because warlocks can get an invocation to do the same thing, and sorcerers have proficiency in Constitution saving throws, so they might not take it right away.
Artificers have constitution.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I still think that the advantage on concentration checks is so valuable,
It is.
and that you're also getting the +1 ASI that you want. So I think that for most characters, the whole conversation around what you're holding in your hands, like Warcaster basically says, like if you're holding a staff, a staff is still a quarterstaff. It's a weapon, so you're kind of fine no
Yeah.
matter what, right?
And so I think that that's actually not the important part of this unless you have a rule stickler DM. But the advantage on your concentration checks is really the reason you're taking this.
Yeah.
And it makes it almost S tier.
Yes.
Almost.
Yes, because sorcerer, wizard, warlock, cleric, druid, bard, eldritch knight, arcane trickster,
Probably the
paladin.
paladin, yeah.
Paladin might want it.
Artificer.
Artificer. Ranger probably, like, rangers would love to have the feat. Like, rangers and paladins kind of are characters that would both love to have enough feats available to take Warcaster, but they want to take the other martial feats first.
I think rangers and paladins should have feats like fighters, but you know.
Yeah, that's the fighters thing though. So it's hard. It is. Rangers and paladins would love to be able to take Warcaster. They would love to be able to take Resilient
But there's so many
Constitution.
other options.
But there's so many. But there's so many other things that they want first. So I think that Warcaster is in contention for an S tier feat, right?
Because it's useful on majority of the classes.
Yeah. Monks will never take it. Barbarians will never take it. But there are some, like, Eldritch Knights actually might take it.
It's a great choice for Eldritch Knights.
Yeah, right. So
might not be the first choice again because they're also martial combatants where they're competing with all of the A tier martial feats.
But it's that combination of it. It gives you the two most important things that a spellcaster wants: a better spellcasting ability score and making it harder for you to lose your concentration. So I think that overall, for every other character, like, I'm hard pressed even on a sorcerer. Like with a sorcerer being able to have Warcaster and Constitution saving throw proficiency just makes your like you never have to worry about losing concentration. It just makes it a lock.
Let's give it an S.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's be nice and give it an S. There you go, Warcaster. You earned it.
If it's not S, it's A+.
It more likely is an A+, but I'm just feeling generous right now and I feel like saying S, so I'm doing it.
And I want to know, like, are you the stickler DM that worries about this stuff? And like,
is Warcaster mandatory then for your paladins? Like that,
right?
That it seems like something that I just like, and I'm not saying there's no wrong way to play D&D if your table is all accepting of the way that you decide to play it. But at my table, I just hate the idea of being like, oh, sorry, paladin, you can't cast guidance right now. You're holding your sword and shield, and it's like, oh my god, really?
Yeah.
Like it just feels sucky for me. So I'm never gonna worry about it.
We didn't talk about for this the kind of ace in the hole of it, which is casting spells on its reactions, because I actually want to acknowledge something that is a rules exploit and I would not allow at my table. There were some people that were arguing that your allies provoke opportunity attacks from you when they leave your reach. So,
No.
yeah, they don't. But I've seen people, especially earlier, that were arguing that what you could do with Warcaster was if an ally needed healing, you could have them run away from you, thus provoking an opportunity attack from you, which you use to cast Cure Wounds on them as a reaction. Or if you wanted to buff somebody up with a buff spell and it's not your turn, they provoke an opportunity attack from you and you use Warcaster's reaction.
No way.
No.
No way.
No. I'm bringing this up because I'm sure there will be someone mention it in the comments about like this is an amazing strategy, and like honestly,
I've never read the rules and once been like, oh, that must mean this. Like, no.
yeah, it like find me a dungeon master that's gonna let that fly, and I think that's a bad faith interpretation of the rules, and is
Therefore against the rules that now state that bad faith interpretations are not cool.
Finally, we got Weapon Master. Boost your strength or dex, and you gain the mastery property with one weapon. We're going to be brief on this one. Take a level fighter instead.
This is D tier.
Yeah.
Like so many of the others.
Weapon masteries are cool, but
they're not a feat cool.
Yeah.
So D tier.
Yeah.
Ending with a downer.
Yep.
But coming to the end of this, episode 3 was kind of the banger of the episodes.
Oh yeah, this was where we had the heavy hitters.
Yeah. They're all lower on the alphabet.
Okay.
So up on screen, let's put all of our rankings for all of the feats. There they are.
It's a cluttered mess. Hopefully you can read it.
Hopefully Joe has done a good job and this is readable, and pause the screen now. There, now hopefully you've stopped, you've read it all, you've looked it over, and you can tell us your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think some of these feats are way better than we thought? We gave quite a few D tiers, but again, there's a lot of nuance to these conversations.
Yeah.
The main question, before you go and say the one that you gave D tier is definitely A, I want you to ask yourself, majority of the time, would you pick it over the options that are also viable for the same type of character that we gave an A tier to? D tier doesn't mean you would never take it. It just means that you're probably taking the A tier first. You're probably taking the B tier second. You might consider the C tier. D tier only if it's under very specific circumstances.
Yeah, we had a very particular criteria because we came to these conversations and we find a lot of time when we're talking about feats, the question is always, what are you going to take first? And what is going to define your build?
We stumped each other a few times where we had a different ranking in here, and then one of us would say, would that be your first choice? And the other one would go, oh, no, it wouldn't be. Would it be your second? I don't even know.
And it really comes down to the fact that for the vast majority of characters and the vast majority of campaigns, you really only get to pick 2 feats, because a lot of campaigns are you hit the sweet spot of D&D at level 5-ish, and a lot of pre-written campaigns and a lot of campaigns, we know this from data, they tap out around level 13 or so. So you've got kind of the first feat that you pick is character defining, because you're going to be using that feat for your character's entire career. The second feat is really going to amp things up. But as soon as you get into the third feats, now you're in the back 9 of the campaign. And they don't have an opportunity to make as big of an impact on the overall experience you have of playing that character. D&D isn't like an MMORPG where we're building our characters based on max level. We always have to be thinking about the dynamic progress that happens as the characters are leveling up. And so because we don't have the ability to be like, yeah, we're making 20th level characters all the time, we think about the sweet spot. And so we're thinking about, what are the 3 feats you're going to get?
And if one of these feats just doesn't feel like it makes the cut for the first, second, or third choice, then it can't be an A or B tier.
Yeah.
And honestly, there are some A tiers that end up being the third choice because they're in competition with the other A tiers.
Yeah.
And if you look at all the ones we gave an A tier to, I think that you end up with like most of your first, second, and third choices, regardless of
Yeah.
which of the several builds we're talking.
I think the thing with those feats, though, is that it's acknowledging the fact that you could and probably would consider taking any one of those ones first.
Yeah.
And that would be a good choice.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas there's other feats that it's clearly like, this is good, but it's probably not good enough to be your first choice.
It's your amp up. It's not your
Yeah.
character definer.
Yeah.
So tell us your thoughts on all of this, all of the feats, and some of the cool and crazy builds that you've made using them. Tell us about them in the comments below.
The videos that we create on our channel are made possible thanks to the incredible generosity of our Patreon supporters. This was quite a slog getting through all these tier ranking feats, and our patrons are always with us every step of the way to provide us their insights, their advice, chat with us on our Patreon-only Discord server, and reap the rewards of getting these videos a week early. That's right. All of our patrons get all of our YouTube videos, all of our actual plays a week early, and a smattering of a bunch of extra awesome bonus content. So be sure to check all that out in the description below.
It's kind of crazy that we managed to wear the same exact shirts for all 3 of these episodes, even though they're weeks apart.
Yeah, it's almost like we filmed them on the same day.
That would be ridiculous. That would be way too much.
YouTubers don't do that.
No, that's way too much work. If you want to see us using a whole bunch of feats, that sounds weird. You could check out our actual play in the Worlds of Drakenheim, which airs Tuesday evenings right here on YouTube. You can check out all the previous episodes right up over here.
And we got plenty more tier ranking content for D&D right up over here.
Please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and ring that bell so that you never miss an episode.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time
in the dungeon.